When you're setting up a Zap in Zapier, hopefully you'll usually have the data given to you in a way that is easy to work with. For example, I set up a example here where I'm catching a webhook and it has name John, email johnsmith@gmail.com. But what if these two, name and email, weren't there and all I had was this thing called messy data? And it says this is a single string of text that contains lots of different data. In fact, I'll show you that entire piece of text. Sometimes when you're building a Zap, you will need to pull out one piece of data from a long, messy string of text. And then it's got another bit of data here. Thankfully, you can use the Formatter by Zapier app or the Code by Zapier app to extract the information you need. So, in this tutorial, I am going to show you what to do when you are setting up a Zap and you don't get these nice, clean pieces of data like name and email, but you have a piece of data like name John buried inside of a long string, a long piece of text. And this could be really jumbled looking text with different code bits in it. So first, I'll show you how to do it using Formatter. And it's going to take 2 steps. I'll just walk you through this. For the first step, I selected Formatter. For the for the action, I selected text. And then in Edit Template, I select Split Text. For the input, I got the messy data from step 1. And then let's go back to the text here. We want John. That is the piece of information we're trying to pull out here. And so we need to look, what comes directly before John? Well, there's a double quote, but there's also other double quotes in here. But there's only one time in this whole thing where you see double quote, name, double quote, colon, space, double quote. And so this is what we are going to try to use. So I will just copy this and I'll paste it in here just to show you how it's done. But there is a space there, and I think that you need to copy this. This is how Zapier considers a space in these formatting steps. So just imagine if that whole thing was replaced with a space. So this is what is going to come directly before John. And then for segment index, we're going to tell Zapier, return everything after this separator. So you can choose from first, second, last, second to last, all, and we want last. And you're probably most of the time going to use first or last. And so when we select last, we're telling Zapier, find name, double quote, colon, space, double quote, and then when we select last, we're saying return everything after that. And so let's continue. And we've tested this. Let's view the text. So here is what is being outputted from this step. The word John, and then everything else after. So far, so good. In the next step, we're going to take this and then just get John from that. So we selected Formatter and Text. In Edit Template, we're splitting text again. Here's an important part. For the input, you want the output of step 2. You do not want the messy data from step 1 because we've worked with it here in step 2. And so that's what we want to use as the input for this third step. And let's figure out the separator for this one. I'll go back to our text here. We have John, and now what comes after John? Double quote, curly brace, space, and the word sometimes. And you can see I've got a double quote, curly brace, the space in the way that Zapier notates it, and then the word sometimes. And now for the segment index, we want to select first because we want everything before these characters here. We'll click continue and view your text. And now we are just seeing John. We also have, if we look at text edit, we have an email, johnsmith@gmail.com. So all you would need to do is do these 2 steps again, but this time do it for email. Now, if you wanted to do something a little bit more advanced, or you just wanted to do this all in one step, you can also do this with Zapier's Code app. It's a little more advanced, so just know that the formatter method is perfectly valid. But if you want to try to do it using code, I selected run JavaScript from this screen, and then on this screen, for the input, I'm pulling in messy data from step 1, and I decided to set it to a variable called messy data from previous trigger or action, separated by underscores. And now here is the code, and I will include a link to this so that you can have this code in the video description. And I think that I won't talk through it since it's a bit advanced, but just know that I've got a function here for extracting a piece of data, and then I run that function, extract piece of data for name and for email, and I pass in the messy data, and then here I pass in what comes before, and here I pass in what comes after. And one tricky thing is you need to escape your double quotes. Oops. There we go. And let me just click continue here and show you what this would look like. When we run that, we get first name John and email address of johnsmith@gmail.com. And then you have successfully extracted the individual pieces of data that you've needed from a big, long, jumbled piece of text like that. And then you can continue with the Zap to use those bits of data that you pulled out in further steps.